Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. Well, Maldives opposition parties on Monday launched a new bid to seize control of parliament through a third attempt to impeach the speaker. An opposition coalition said it had submitted a no-confidence motion with the support of 45 MPs, enough to force a vote in the 85-member Majlis or parliament. The main opposition, Maldivian Democratic Party, said that the coalition now has a majority in the chamber. A previous attempt to impeach Speaker Abdullah Masih in April failed when the number of signatures required for a no-trust motion against the Speaker was raised to 50% of the House, up from one-third. The first attempt to impeach Masih in March ended in chaos when Maldives President Abdullah Yameen ordered troops to eject some lawmakers from Parliament. That prompted the United States to urge the Maldives to restore faith in democracy. On this edition of The Big Picture, we will analyze the political crisis in Maldives. Joining me on the program today are Commodore C. Uday Bhaskar, retired Director, Society for Policy Studies; Sanjay Bhardwaj, Professor, South Asian Studies, JNU; Sanjay Kapoor, Editor, Hard News; and Anand Kumar, Associate Fellow, Institute for Defence Studies and Analysis. Thank you to all my guests for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Sanjay Bhardwaj, I'd like to begin with you, of course, and ask you what has led to this present crisis, really, because, you know, something has been brewing now all through this year.
You know, one thing is very much clear, that the presidential election is due next year. And when you see the history of Maldives, that there had been crisis of institutionalized democratic institutions in Maldives. Till 2008, the Maldives had been under the one man, one party, and Abdul Gayoom, he has ruled the country, and he could not institutionalize the democratic institutions in the country. But there were waves because of other countries, like Bhutan was also going for the democratizations, though it was from the top-down approach. But in case of Maldives, it was a bottom-up approach, that the Maldivian Democratic Party under the leadership of Nasheed, he's a dynamic leader, and he is very progressive and liberal. He was challenging his Abdul Gayoom's presidency, and finally the democracy was restored, instated in Maldives in 2008, and elections were held and power was transferred to Nasheed. In fact, thing had happened that after that the opposition political forces, they could not digest that. And the dynasties who ruled the country for a long could not digest it, and they were plottings against him, there were coup against him, and the institutions, like they were politicized, like police itself has gone for coup. So I have seen that from 2008 to 2017, there are constant political instability. In 2012, Nasheed was removed from the power by the help of police, and because he has arrested the Chief Justice of Maldives. That has this development has taken, and what happened in 2013, the power has been transferred to again you can say this PPM, the party who was headed by Abdul Gayoom, his half brother, who has become the president of Maldives. And after that, within the political party, within this political party, that the progressive political party was said, there had been problems within the political party, and what happened, that 13 ministers has resigned.
Yes.
By the time, and this present president Yameen has lost the faith from the party leadership. Even Abdul Gayoom was not having faith on him, and he has projected his home minister.
Will he be able to complete his term?
The situation, given situation, I think that the way they have gone for the no confidence motion against the speaker, he has lost the majority. Now, on the morality ground, he should resign. But the way he is moving, and he is trying to plot what he has done. He has done 2-3 things very systematically. First thing, he tried to have the sealing of the elections for the president, that more than 65 years person cannot contest the election. Second, the convicted person cannot contest the elections. So he's trying to keep out Mr. Nasheed and Mr.
Majority of the opposition
and all
leaders.
that, and that kind of plottings, and he's trying to, and what happened, that he has politicized the institutions there.
Okay.
So it is not, there is no indications that the democracy is strengthening and institutionalizing. But the good sign is that the four political parties, the major four political parties had come together to against the present president, and that
yes.
there are possibilities. But what would happen after, because there are also conflict or clashes between the political parties like the PPPM and the MDP.
We'll get to that in just a bit. Let me get in Sanjay Kapoor into the picture as well. You know, what are the implications really for this fledgling democracy? Because clearly, all's not well.
Yeah, before I came here, I was just committed the folly of doing a Google search on crisis in Maldives, and there was the entire page was filled with the crisis unfolding itself year after year. I mean, in the beginning of this year, you had a lot of things happening, and subsequently the foreign minister goes, and now you have a situation where the entire opposition is claiming that they will bring down this government. But Yameen is not a pushover, because the fact of the matter is he's been able to resist whatever pressures have been brought on him, and there is likelihood that he'll be able to complete his term. But you know, the instability that has come in doesn't augur well for the country as well as whatever it has been attempting, because what has also happened that this silent country has become a serious you know, place or an arena for contestation between India and China. And more than what really transpires inside is how both these big Asian giants perceive the happenings out there. And Yameen very cleverly has been trying to play India against China, and the last 1.5 to 2 years, as you would see, he has been able to give space for enlarging Chinese influence in his country. So India would be very happy if Yameen goes away, despite the fact that there have been overtures, and there are suggestions also which are available in Maldives that Yameen's exit, if it happens, would gladden people in Delhi. But it's not likely to happen anytime soon, because for the first time in many years, China has also begun to intervene politically in countries in our neighborhood, which was earlier our area of influence, whether it is Nepal or for that matter in Maldives. So earlier they would just confine themselves to trade and business activity, but now they are entrenched very firmly, dipping into, you know, as they say, messing around in a situation like this, pouring oil in fire, as you would say. So it has very serious implications, especially when it comes to how the two countries are going to perceive the happenings out there. And there are no easy solutions.
Indeed, no easy solutions. You know, Anand Kumar, strategically, Maldives is very well placed, and you know, they are in a position to take the best from everyone or everything that comes to the table. You know, but how does India play a role in all of that, all of it that's happening within the Maldives now?
See, obviously, India, US and China would be interested in developments in Maldives. So, whatever politically happens in Maldives would be of interest to these countries. Presently, Yameen's government, though it is not openly hostile to India, but it's not friendly either. It has been seen that over the years, Yameen has ceded ground to Chinese interests. So, both India and US are concerned on this development. Besides, presence of Yameen has also meant that democracy has taken a backseat. Now, Yameen has consistently worked against democracy. And to achieve his objective, he has taken help from countries like Saudi Arabia and China. So, these things are of concern to India, because if Maldives goes closer to Saudi Arabia, then it also means increase in extremism, which is at a very high level in Maldives. Maldives today contribute highest number of foreign fighters in Iraq. So, India would be concerned about that, and it has been seen in the past that Maldivians extremists, they were active in India, and through India they have gone even to Pakistan, and a number of Maldivians were killed in Fatah region. So, and besides, Maldives is also planning to give certain airports and deep sea ports to China for construction. So, all these things, like given the present scenario between India and China, these things would be of concern to India, because we already know, like a number of Chinese vessels are coming into Indian Ocean, and Chinese would be too happy to exploit this crisis for their advantage. And as it was pointed out that now Chinese are no longer averse to intervene in the domestic politics of the countries of South Asia. So these are it would be useful for India to keep a close eye on the developments in the Maldives,
sure,
and see how democracy is protected in that country, and along with that Indian interests.
Indeed. Commodore, I'd like to come to you now. You know, just a few days ago, we were discussing the border situation in Sikkim, and we said how it could be a part of a larger plan. And that's what seems to be happening right now with China, sending a submarine into the Indian Ocean region, and also sending in more ships, naval ships into the Indian Ocean region. And Maldives falls right into the scheme of things, doesn't it?
No, absolutely. I think, Frank, if you look at the geography of the Maldives and its location in the Indian Ocean, I would make a case to say that after the PLA Navy, the Chinese Navy, entered the Indian Ocean as part of the anti-piracy effort, we're talking about 2009, they had identified the Maldives as a strategically vital island nation. And therefore, you see the beginning of Chinese investment, political, economic, the number of Chinese tourists who were coming in a variety of ways. And from then onwards, one could make a very strong case to say that the Chinese had an objective, and this is an interesting point that you have raised, that perhaps we should understand the Chinese strategic determination of geography. Now, whether we talk about Bhutan now and the fact that Chinese PLA troops perhaps had identified that particular plateau, the Doklam, in the Bhutan area abutting the Chumbi Valley, as something that they wanted to access and perhaps drop anchor, as it were, in terms of infrastructure. This has been going on for more than 20 years. You talk to the army personnel and others who have served over there. I'm inferring, saying that when it comes to an appreciation of geography, I think the Chinese have shown a certain resolve, and Maldives could be placed within that framework, because China is in a way constrained as far as the Pacific is concerned. If you look at the political geography of China's Pacific seaboard, starting from Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, all the way down into the ASEAN states, and the large American presence, military presence, China cannot access the Pacific Ocean in an unencumbered way. So therefore, logic suggests, maritime logic, that they must look at the Indian Ocean. Therefore, the investment in Pakistan, in Sri Lanka, in Myanmar and Bangladesh, and Maldives is really the prize. Because if China is able to consolidate its position in the Maldives, it already has invested in Djibouti, then it changes maritime geography in its favor. And therefore, I think for India, developments in the Maldives have a very, very deep strategic sense in the maritime context. And related to that, I just want to add one more strand to what the other panelists had said.
Yes.
The Maldives is a very small demography, about 4.5 to 5 lakhs. And currently, the socio-cultural pattern seems to be that a small nation that had followed the Maliki school of Islam, which was derived from Morocco, the Maghreb actually, is now shifting towards the Saudi Pakistan-led Wahhabi kind of interpretation of Islam. And my own interaction with few Maldivians over the years seem to suggest that the politics of Maldives is also getting polarized along those lines. So you have two kind of trends, two drivers, one by China, and the current president has been, in a way, I would say, wooing the Chinese, offering them various incentives.
Right.
And when President Nasheed was removed, there was also, I think, a certain theological dimension, which at that time was polarizing the politics of Maldives, and all that is playing out now. And I think India should be monitoring this very carefully because of the long-term implications.
Indeed, the long-term, there are several long-term implications, but Sanjay Bharadwaj, as far as strategic implications for the Indian Ocean region itself are concerned, what's likely to happen in the days to come now?
No, let me add 2-3 things to Uday Bhaskar ji. Actually, if you are looking, because we are looking the politico-strategic location of Maldives, it is basically a Muslim-dominated country, and in this president's tenure, they got about $1 billion as a support from Saudi Arabia. For what? For schools, Islamic charities, for mosques and all that. They were trying to radicalize, and what you say that Wahhabism, or I say that Hanabali, basically Arabian type of Islam, they are trying to impose on South Asian, all South Asian countries, including Maldives. So they are trying to radicalize the society of Maldives, and you have seen that many of the scholars, they were studying in Pakistan also, and they were found involved in on radical activities, extremist activities, and they were caught in Pakistan itself. So there are we have to be very careful about. We have to understand that that we have to support the liberal democratic forces in Maldives. What we said, that MDP or other political forces who had been. Number two, what talks about the Chinese and American. See, Gayoom had been remained as president for 40 years because there were constant support from the Americans. And what happened that in his later periods, he had started drifting himself from America and was going closer to China, and that did not fit him. And what happened that and this present president, he continued his alliance with the Chinese. And what this president was doing, he was doing all undemocratic activities and like making the rules and polarizing the institutions, and this is the demands of the opposition political parties. China may have an opportunity to support, because China has the history of supporting undemocratic forces all over the world, including Myanmar and in North Korea, and that could happen in Pakistan also. That could the same thing that he can have if this present president has that kind of give indications to China. China may have extend support to the president, and what the opposition coalition is asking, free and fair elections.
Right.
What you say that depoliticize the institutions like police, and because police had been very supportive to him. Judiciary has also been very supportive to him in recent past. So that kind of thing, I think we should, being a largest functional democracy, India should act here and should support the coalitions that has been formed in Maldives, and they are asking a free and fair elections. I think we should stand and we should mobilize, because it is our responsibility in the neighborhood that would adversely impact on us, and that would have a larger strategic interest. What the two panelists about talking about that Indian Ocean, and they are coming, and and they are making builds like the sting of pearl policy. So Maldives had also been added in that. So I think we have to be proactive in case of these our neighborhood, so that we can cultivate the liberal democratic forces.
Okay, how can we be proactive is something that I'm going to come to you, Commodore, to just talk about that in just a bit. But before that, let me bring in Sanjay Kapoor as well. You know, this talk of radicalization, Wahhabism entering into Maldives, let's not forget that Maldives is a tourist hub and majority of its income comes from tourism. So isn't this going to dent tourism in the Maldives in the days to come?
You know, it has had a dampening impact even in the past. There have been a lot of worries that have been expressed by tour operators that people cannot show too much of skin because it's become Islamic Republic, activities that you have to be conscious of. But at the same time, as Commodore Uday Bhaskar said, and my other panelists have said, there are two competing influences which are working on Maldives. For instance, you have Saudi Arabia, which is bringing in funds, especially when it comes to impacting them socially. But you also have China, which is has very strategic impact, and they are listing Maldives as a major tourist destination. So that means that there's been a huge flow of Chinese tourists to Maldives, and Chinese do not have a similar kind of values as you would probably have the Saudi Arabians or the Wahhabis or all those things. So that interesting contestation also keeps the Maldivian government to tamper their sensitivities about tourism. So there were fears, but I think at the same time you had an increased flow of tourists from Southeast Asia, from China, which in a certain way maintains a balance.
So
but I want to raise one.
Yes, yes.
I wanted to come in and just respond to even what Sanjay ji was saying. I don't think there is too much scope for India to really intervene. We can't send gunboats to Maldives and tell President Yameen that he should clean up his act, because all those questions have been addressed in the past. Every time you have a crisis, people ask, what the hell is India doing? Such a small country and you can't do very much. But the fact of the matter is that there is a limit beyond which you cannot do. It's very strategically located. You have the Americans and you have the Britishers traditionally who exercise great amount of influence. And Nasheed definitely, seeks support. But beyond, I think, using your soft power, your proximity to that country, and hope that you are able to use all the variables that are available, you can't do very much in changing the character. We've seen even our limitations showing up time and again in Nepal, for that matter.
Sure. Yes, a quick comment, Sanjay Balbar.
My submission is that, why I'm asking this, because currently, right now, Saudi Arabia, the President Yameen has problem with Saudi Arabia on issue of Qatar, because he has very close relations with Qatar, and on this issue Saudi Arabia is not very comfortable about this and develop. I think this is a time that India, because India is a progressive force, India supports democracy, we should support the democratic forces. We are not asking intervening militarily and all that. We are promoting these things.
Anand Kumar, it's going to be a struggle for the opposition, isn't it? Because, most of the opposition is either in jail. Yameen has ensured over the last few years that has happened, or they are in exile. So, what is it that the opposition really can do, leading up to the elections?
Yeah, you are very right that Yameen has systematically taken several steps to control opposition, like he limited this age. Beyond 65, nobody can contest election for president, and he also made laws that people who are convicted, they cannot contest elections. That was basically to keep Nasheed out. But the opposition has now come together. Some time back, Yameen, who comes from Jamhuri Party, he is also the biggest businessman of Maldives. So initially, Yameen tried to hurt his business interests. So in that he was quite successful, and Jamhuri Party leader was initially tamed. He agreed to what Yameen was saying, but it seems that now he has also decided to come out against Yameen, and it was his support that actually made Yameen president, because Yameen gets only 25% of the votes in Maldives, and rest 25% came from Jamhuri Party leader. So now, since quit that coalition, so the majority commanded by Yameen is no longer there, and so obviously Yameen has tried to weaken opposition, but now he is no longer successful in that. Okay. And with this move against a speaker, the main idea behind impeachment of a speaker is that because the opposition is conscious that next year they are going to face elections, and they are also apprehensive that Yameen will try to tamper as they did in 2013. Because they try to play with judiciary, they try to play with Supreme Court, they try to play with law enforcement agency, and they gave up only when they were sure that the election results will bring Yameen to power.
Sure. So, I'm running out of time, so I'm sorry to cut you short. I'd like to get Commodore Uday Bhaskar into the picture and get closing comments from him. Commodore, one of the panelists spoke about how India can be proactive in the region. So what does India need to do to be proactive in the region and, remain a force in the Indian Ocean region?
Well, I would say that India must perhaps review its own experience when we had the ouster of President Nasheed. If you remember, President Nasheed represented what you might call as the democratic impulse in the Maldives. And it's very ironical, because if you look at the history of the Maldives and its very, very diminutive size, the fact that 100% Islamic polity was actually aspiring for democracy. And as one of the panelists said, this was a movement that started from bottom up. Many people, and as I said, Maldives was influenced in a theological sense by the religion of the Maghreb. And the reverse flow, when you look at the Arab Spring, some of the academics that I have spoken to have suggested that what happened in the Maldives was a kind of a non-linear catalyst for the events in the Maghreb. So in that sense, what India can do at this stage, I think, is to review its own experience when President Nasheed was removed from power and see how it can, within the current ground rules of international relations, that without quite making it the equivalent of gunboat diplomacy. By the way, talking of gunboat diplomacy, in 1988, you may recall that when we had Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, it was the Indian military, the Navy, the Army and the Air Force that were able to preempt a coup that would have affected the presidency of then President Gayoom, the strongman of Maldives. So I think India should review that experience, and without being overtly intrusive in the internal dynamic and politics of the Maldives, it should be able to, I think, support the liberal democratic forces and this very rare opportunity where Nasheed and former President Gayoom are actually forming the main opposition to the current government. So I think there are niches there, but India would have to have a very deft and delicate approach.
A deft and delicate approach is what you're saying. We hope that that's how the diplomacy works, and that's what we take forward in the days to come. Thank you so much to all my guests for joining me on the program. C. Uday Bhaskar, Sanjay Bharadwaj, Sanjay Kapoor and Anand Kumar. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with me on this edition of The Big Picture. That's all the time we have today. See you again next time.